well, I mentioned it, but I'm going to ask it more specifically now. Do you feel like connecting to something bigger than yourself, however you would define that, whether that's, you know, a community, a cause, a higher power, do you feel like that impacts your mental health or your mental well-being?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does. But I said obviously I identify as Roman Catholic, so I do believe in God. But I mean, with that, I think religion obviously is a source of meaning for me and for many people. I mean, it's a frame for the world. How do you see those around you? How do you see the world and everything that's going on? But also that kind of does have other things as well. I mean, different traditions have different beliefs and values that kind of play out. So of course, the Christian tradition has a lot to do with sin and redemption, love and mercy. But like Catholic guilt is a real thing sometimes.
Mm,
I mean, how do we process guilt differently than shame? I mean,
hmm,
like a conscience is a good thing, I think, to recognize like, okay, like maybe I've done something wrong here. But like shame and like I am a bad person is different than saying I have done something wrong. I mean, I think so often we can internalize things like that. And that's I don't think that's something particular to my religious tradition either. But I mean, how do we balance kind of forgiveness of ourselves with kind of a desire to do better? I mean, personally, I love feeling useful. I love feeling like I'm doing good. And so when you say like movements and causes too, like I think that's hugely important to feel like you have something to contribute to the world.
yeah.
But at the same token, like if we're feeling our value and meaning is coming just from doing things, then if we kind of fail and don't do things as well as we want or don't feel as useful, then that's kind of hard to come back to as well. And so that's, I mean, really leaning on, I mean, a Catholic belief in our creation in the image and likeness of God. Like, okay, like I am valuable for who I am, and not necessarily for what I do,
Hmm.
which is of course tough to internalize, but like that is what I believe, at least in theory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you touched on multiple places
100%.
there where it's helpful and and sometimes needs reoriented. That those are really helpful examples. What about you, Joe?
I think it depends on what you connect to. There's always that kind of, you can connect to something that you don't even know is negative or negatively affecting your mental health. So, you know, uh, honestly, I think it depends. But for me, I think connecting to kind of, like, for me, I love, the reason why I love philosophy is because like the seeking of wisdom pretty much. And I love
Yeah.
to seek wisdom. So I think that kind of gives me a sense of belonging and also like a purpose in this world.
Hmm.
But I also think that, like, you know, every generation, whether it be Gen Z, millennials, whatever, they were all young at one point, and this was all something that they were trying to figure out too. What is my place in this world? What can I provide it? What is my purpose in this? Like, what is my purpose just being a human? Um, and it's something that is kind of always the question that the younger generation is asking, whether it be, in 2021, 2022, 1960, whatever the year is. And it's a driving factor of who we think, how we think of each other and how we think of just ourselves individually. So if we find that positive thing to connect to, like in George's case, it's religion. I'm also Christian. So I think sometimes it's that higher power, sometimes it's that seeking of wisdom. So as long as I think it's good, it's beneficial for your mental health, and that's something that I've learned to kind of do. That's honestly, I think it's better for my mental health, is to sometimes question that purpose, because then you could rethink it and maybe like, oh, maybe it is negatively affecting my mental health. So yeah.